My sister disappeared without a trace. Then one day, I was told to marry her husband. I learned to sleep with one eye open on the night they brought me to the mansion. The guards didn't look at me. The servants whispered behind their hands. And somewhere in the West Wing, a baby was crying. A baby that wasn't mine, in a house that would never feel like home.
My name is Elena Moretti, and 5 years ago, my sister disappeared. Her name was Isabella. Beautiful Isabella, with her golden hair and her perfect smile and her talent for making everyone love her. She was supposed to marry Dante Salvatore, the heir to the most powerful crime family in the city. It was arranged. It was business. It was supposed to save our father from his debts and give our family protection. But the night before her wedding, she vanished. She left behind her wedding dress hanging in the closet. She left behind her 3-month-old daughter, Lily, crying in a white crib. And she left behind Dante Salvatore, a dangerous man who doesn't forgive betrayal. My father came to me the next morning with tears in his eyes and terror in his voice. "Elena," he said, gripping my shoulders, "you have to take her place." I was 19 years old. I had just started college. I wanted to study art and live in a small apartment with plants on the windowsill and maybe fall in love someday with someone ordinary. Instead, I put on Isabella's wedding dress. They had to pin it because she was taller and thinner, and I married a stranger. Dante Salvatore was 28 years old, built like he was carved from stone, with black hair and eyes the color of a winter storm. He didn't smile at our wedding. He didn't look at me with kindness or even curiosity. He looked at me like I was a problem he needed to solve. 5 years, his lawyer said, sliding the contract across the table. "You will act as Mrs. Salvatore for 5 years. You will care for the child. You will fulfill your duties. In return, your family's debts will be forgiven, and at the end of the contract, you will receive $10 million and your freedom." I signed. What choice did I have? That first night in the mansion, I held Lily in my arms and cried. She had Isabella's blonde hair and blue eyes. She looked up at me like she was searching for her mother, and all I could offer her was a stranger's love. But love, I learned, doesn't care about biology. Within weeks, Lily became mine in all the ways that mattered. I woke up when she cried. I sang to her when she couldn't sleep. I watched her take her first steps, say her first words, grow from a baby into a bright, fierce little girl. Dante watched from a distance. He was always working meetings, phone calls, dangerous men in expensive suits filling our dining room at midnight. He controlled shipping routes, owned half the city, and made decisions that could end lives with a single word. But he was never cruel to me. He was cold, yes, distant. He slept in a different wing of the mansion. He barely spoke to me unless necessary. But he never raised his voice, never raised his hand. And sometimes, late at night, I'd catch him standing in the doorway of Lily's room, watching her sleep with an expression I couldn't read. The first year was the hardest. The other families whispered. The wives of Dante's associates looked at me with pity or contempt, calling me the replacement when they thought I couldn't hear. The servants treated me like I might disappear any moment, just like Isabella. I wanted to disappear. I wanted to run, but I stayed. I stayed because of the contract, because of my family, because of Lily. And slowly, something changed. I stopped being scared. I started paying attention. I watched how Dante negotiated, how he read people, how he turned enemies into allies with the right words or the right threats. I learned the names of every family in the organization. I memorized their strengths and weaknesses. I attended the dinners and the parties, and instead of hiding in the corner, I smiled and charmed and listened. One night, during a party at our mansion, I overheard 2 men talking in the hallway. They were from the Romano family, one of Dante's business partners. "Salvatore is getting soft," one said, letting a replacement bride raise his child. "It makes him look weak. Maybe we should test that weakness," the other replied. I didn't tell Dante right away. Instead, I watched. I listened. I gathered information about the Romano family over the next few weeks. I learned that Marco Romano, the head of the family, had a gambling problem. I learned that his son was secretly dating a girl from a rival family. I learned that their shipping business was struggling because they'd lost a major contract to the Chinese. When I finally told Dante what I'd heard, I also gave him everything I'd learned. He looked at me with surprise. How did you find all this? I paid attention. I said simply, the wives talk, the servants talk. People forget I'm listening. The next week, Dante met with Marco Romano. I don't know exactly what he said, but the Romano family never questioned his strength again. And after that meeting, Dante started looking at me differently. By the second year, people stopped calling me the replacement. They started calling me Mrs. Salvatore. I earned it. When a rival family tried to use Lily to threaten Dante, I was the one who figured out their plan and stopped it. I'd noticed that one of our security guards had started spending more money than his salary would allow. I'd seen him talking to a man in a black car near the playground where I took Lily. I told Marco, Dante's head of security, a grizzled older man with gray hair and scars on his hands. Watch him, I said. Something isn't right. Marco investigated. We discovered the guard had been paid to give information about Lily's schedule to the Castellano family. They were planning to take her and use her to force Dante into giving up territory. We set a trap. We sent false information through the corrupt guard. When the Castellanos came to the wrong location at the wrong time, Dante's men were waiting. The threat ended before it began. After that night, Dante called me into his office. You saved my daughter's life, he said. Our daughter, I corrected without thinking. His eyes softened. Yes, our daughter. That was the first time he acknowledged that Lily was mine too. The wives of the other families noticed a change. At the social events, they started seeking my advice. When problems arose, they came to me before going to Dante. Maria Russo, the wife of Dante's oldest ally, became my closest friend. She was 50 years old with kind eyes and silver hair, and she'd been in this world since she was my age. You're smart, Elena, she told me over coffee one afternoon. Smarter than Isabella ever was. That girl only cared about pretty dresses and parties. You actually understand how this world works. I had to learn fast, I said. Most girls don't learn at all, Maria replied. They stay scared their whole lives. But you became powerful. By the third year, I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was thriving. I managed the household with efficiency. I organized charity events that improved the family's public image. I mediated disputes between the wives, which kept peace between the families. And somewhere along the way, I stopped counting the days until my contract ended. Lily was 3 years old now, calling me mama, holding my hand everywhere we went. She had a bright laugh and curious eyes and a stubborn streak that reminded me of Dante. Dante himself was changing too. He started having dinner with us instead of eating alone in his office. At first, it was once a week, then twice, then almost every night. He would sit at the head of the table with Lily on one side and me on the other, and we would talk about our days like a normal family. Lily would chatter about her toys and her books, and Dante would listen with complete attention, like she was telling him the most important things in the world. Tell Papa about the butterfly, I'd prompt, and Lily would launch into a long story about the butterfly we'd seen in the garden, complete with dramatic hand gestures. Dante's eyes would meet mine over her head, and something warm would pass between us. After dinner, we'd put Lily to bed together. He would read her a story while I sat in the rocking chair and watched. His voice would soften when he read, losing all its hardness and danger. Again, Papa? Lily would demand when he finished. One more, he'd say, and read another story, and sometimes another after that, until her eyes grew heavy and she finally fell asleep. One night, as we were leaving her room, Dante touched my arm. Thank you, he said quietly. For what? For being a good mother to her. For staying when you could have run. For making this house feel like a home. My heart beat faster. She's easy to love. So are you, he said. And then he walked away, leaving me standing in the hallway with those words ringing in my ears. Things started changing between us after that night. Dante began bringing me small gifts when he returned from trips. Nothing expensive or showy, a book he thought I'd like, a scarf in my favorite color, fresh flowers from the market. He asked about my opinions on business matters. He introduced me to his associates not as my wife but as Elena, my partner. He started smiling more. Real smiles that reached his eyes and made him look younger, less burdened by the weight of his dangerous world. and I started noticing things I shouldn't. The way his hands looked when he loosened his tie at the end of a long day. The sound of his laugh when Lily told him a silly joke. The warmth in his voice when he said my name. The way he smelled like expensive cologne and coffee and something uniquely him. I tried to ignore it. I tried to remember this was temporary, that I was the replacement, that somewhere in the world Isabella existed and could return any moment. But my heart didn't care about logic. The third year was when everything became complicated. It started one night when Lily had a nightmare. She woke up screaming, and both Dante and I rushed to her room from opposite wings of the mansion. We found her sitting up in bed, crying and shaking. "Monster," she sobbed, pointing at the shadows in the corner. "Big monster." "There's no monster, sweetness," I said, sitting on one side of her bed and pulling her into my arms. Dante sat on the other side. "Should I go fight it?" he asked seriously. Lily nodded, her tears slowing. Dante stood up, walked to the corner, and pretended to punch and kick at the shadows. "Take that, monster, and that! Don't you ever scare my daughter again." Lily giggled through her tears. Dante came back to the bed, breathing hard like he'd actually fought something. "I defeated it. You're safe now, promise?" Lily asked. "I promise," he said. "I'll always keep you safe, both of you." He looked at me when he said it, and my breath caught. We sat on either side of Lily's bed, holding her hands until she fell back asleep. The room was quiet except for her soft breathing. "She's lucky to have you," Dante whispered across the sleeping child. "We're both lucky to have you," I whispered back. Our eyes met in the dim light from her nightlight. Something passed between us, something unspoken and terrifying and achingly tender. Dante's hand found mine across Lily's small body. His thumb brushed across my knuckles, gentle and questioning. I should have pulled away. I should have remembered this was temporary, that I was the replacement, that this could never be real. But I held on. We sat like that for a long time, holding hands across our sleeping daughter, neither of us willing to break the moment. When we finally left her room, we stood in the hallway facing each other. "Elena," Dante said, and my name on his lips sounded like a prayer. "Don't," I said. "Don't say anything we can't take back." "What if I don't want to take it back?" My heart was racing. "We have a contract. This is business." "It stopped being business a long time ago," he said. "At least for me." He reached out and tucked a strand of hair behind my ear, his fingers lingering on my cheek. "I should go," I said, but I didn't move. "You should." He agreed, but he stepped closer. "This is a bad idea," I whispered. "The worst," he said, and then he kissed me. The world caught fire. His lips were soft and firm at the same time. His hand cupped the back of my neck, pulling me closer. My fingers gripped his shirt, holding on like he was the only solid thing in a spinning world. When we finally broke apart, we were both breathing hard. "We can't do this," I said. "I know." "The contract, I don't care about the contract. Dante, stay," he said suddenly, desperately. "When the 5 years are up, stay anyway. Not because of money or obligation. Just stay." I wanted to say yes. I wanted to throw myself into his arms and promise him forever. But I was afraid. Afraid this wasn't real. Afraid he was confusing gratitude with love. Afraid Isabella would come back and I'd lose everything. "Ask me again in 2 years," I said finally. "When the contract is actually ending. Ask me then." He looked disappointed but nodded. 2 years. "I can wait 2 years." He kissed me again. Softer this time. Like a promise. And from that night on, everything changed between us. We tried to be careful. We tried to keep up appearances, to maintain separate rooms, to act like this was still just business. But we failed spectacularly. I started waking up in his bed more nights than not, tangled in his sheets and his arms. We talked for hours in the darkness, sharing stories from our childhoods, our fears, our dreams. He told me about growing up as the heir to a crime family, the pressure and the violence and the loneliness. He told me about his mother, who died when he was 12, and how he still missed her. I told him about Isabella, how she'd always been the favorite, the beautiful one, the one everyone loved. I told him about feeling invisible my whole life, always second best. "You're not second best," he said fiercely. "You're everything." We had breakfast as a family every morning. Dante would make pancakes terribly. They were always slightly burned while Lily and I set the table. We'd eat together and talk about our plans for the day, and it felt so normal, so perfect. The families noticed, of course. The whispers changed from replacement to actually in love. Maria Russo cornered me at a charity event during my 4th year as Mrs. Salvatore. "You love him," she said. It wasn't a question. I didn't deny it. "Yes." "Does he love you?" "He says he does." "And you believe him?" I thought about the way Dante looked at me when he thought I wasn't watching. The way he held me at night. The way he listened when I talked. Really listened. Like my words mattered more than anything. "Yes," I said. "I believe him." Maria smiled. "Good. You've earned this happiness, Elena. Don't let anyone take it from you. But happiness in this world always comes with a price." During the 4th year, a new threat emerged. The Castellano family, still angry about their failed attempt to kidnap Lily, started making moves against Dante's business. They sabotaged shipments. They spread rumors. They tried to turn Dante's allies against him. Dante was working 18-hour days, stressed and exhausted. I'd find him in his office at 3 in the morning, staring at reports and maps. "Come to bed," I'd say. "I can't. If I don't figure this out, we could lose everything." "Then let me help." And I did. I used my connections with the wives to gather information. I attended meetings and took notes. I suggested strategies that Dante hadn't considered. Together, we fought back. I discovered that Anthony Castellano, the family head, had a weakness: his daughter, Sofia. She was young and rebellious and hated the family business. I arranged to meet her at a coffee shop, pretending it was a coincidence. "You're Elena Salvatore," she said when she recognized me. "And you're Sofia Castellano." She looked nervous. "If my father knew I was talking to you, your father doesn't have to know." I just wanted to talk. Woman to woman, over coffee. I learned that Sofia wanted out. She wanted to go to college, to study music, to have a normal life. But her father wouldn't allow it. "What if I could help you?" I asked. "How?" "Dante has connections. He could get you into a university far from here, somewhere your father couldn't reach you. He could make sure you were safe." Her eyes widened. "Why would you do that?" "Because I understand wanting a different life than the one you were born into. And because if you leave, your father will be distracted. He'll have one less weapon to use against my family." It was calculating. It was manipulative. But it was also true. I did want to help her. Sofia agreed. Within a month, she was enrolled in a music program across the country, protected by Dante's people. Anthony Castellano was devastated by his daughter's disappearance. His focus shifted from attacking Dante to finding Sofia. His allies, seeing him weakened by personal problems, started pulling away. The threat faded. Dante held me close when I told him what I'd done. "You're brilliant," he said, "and maybe a little scary. I learned from you." "No," he said seriously. "You're better than me. You found a way to win without violence. You gave that girl a chance at a real life. That's not something I would have thought to do." "We're a good team," I said. "The best." We kissed, and it felt like victory. The 5th year started with so much hope. I was 24 now, confident and powerful and in love. Lily was 5, starting kindergarten, full of energy and questions and joy. She called me Mama without hesitation and climbed into Dante's lap every evening to tell him about her day. Dante and I were making plans. Plans for what would happen when the contract ended. Plans to make our marriage real and permanent. "I want to renew our vows," he said one night. "Have a real wedding. Invite everyone. Show the whole world that you're mine by choice, not by contract." "I like that idea," I said, my heart full. "And maybe," he added carefully, "we could think about giving Lily a brother or sister." I kissed him. I liked that idea too. Everything was falling into place. My father's debts were long paid. I'd proven myself to the organization. The families respected me. I had a daughter I loved and a husband I adored and a life I'd built from nothing. I should have known it was too perfect to last. 10 days before our contract was set to end, I was in the garden with Lily. She was chasing butterflies and laughing, her blonde hair shining in the sunlight. I heard the commotion before I saw it. Car doors slamming, voices shouting, the guards at the front gate arguing with someone. And then, gliding up the driveway in a white dress like she'd never left, like 5 years hadn't passed, was Isabella. She looked exactly the same. Golden hair falling in perfect waves. Blue eyes wide and innocent. That smile that had always made people love her. She looked at Lily, and her hand flew to her mouth. "My baby," she breathed. "My sweet baby girl." Lily stopped chasing butterflies. She looked at this strange woman with confusion. "Mama, who is that?" she asked me. Isabella's eyes found mine. Her smile changed, becoming sharp and cold. "Hello, little sister," she said. "Did you take good care of my family while I was away?" My blood turned to ice. Dante appeared on the front steps. I'd never seen him look so shocked, so angry, so utterly out of control. His face had gone pale, and his hands were clenched into fists. "Isabella," he said, and her name in his mouth felt like a knife in my chest. "Dante," she purred, walking toward him like she owned the place. "I'm home." Lily pressed against my legs, hiding behind me. "Mama, I'm scared." I picked her up, holding her tight. "It's okay, baby. I've got you." Isabella noticed Lily hiding and frowned. "Lily, sweetheart, don't you recognize your mother?" "You're not my mama," Lily said, her voice small but certain. "Elena is my mama." Pain flashed across Isabella's face, real or fake. I couldn't tell. That night, the mansion erupted into chaos. Dante called an emergency meeting with his lawyer and his top advisors. I sat in the corner holding Lily, while Isabella sat across from us looking radiant and victimized. She told her story. She'd been kidnapped the night before the wedding by a rival family. She'd been held in a basement, moved from place to place, unable to escape or contact anyone. She'd finally managed to get free a few months ago and had been making her way back to us ever since. She had scars on her wrists to prove it, thin white lines that could have been from restraints or from a dozen other things. She had newspaper clippings of Dante's activities, showing she'd been following the family from afar, desperately trying to find a way home. She had tears in her eyes and a tremor in her voice and a story that was almost believable. Almost. But I saw the calculation behind her eyes. I saw the way she looked around the mansion, cataloging the expensive furniture and the artwork and the security. I saw the way she looked at Dante, not with love, but with possession. "I need time to investigate this," Dante said finally. His voice was cold, controlled. He wouldn't look at me. "Of course," Isabella said softly. "I understand this is a shock. I just want my life back. My daughter. My husband." She said it so sweetly, but her eyes were on me when she said it. Dante arranged for Isabella to stay in the guest wing. She needed time, he said, to adjust, to reconnect with Lily, to prove her story. But there was nothing gentle about the way Isabella looked at me across the dinner table that first night. "You've done such a wonderful job," she said, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "Playing house, playing mother, playing wife. It must have been fun, pretending to be me. But it's time to give me back my life now, don't you think?" Lily refused to go to her. She clung to me, crying whenever Isabella came near. "That's not my mama," she sobbed. "You're my mama. Make her go away." "Lily, sweetheart," Isabella said, trying to sound patient but clearly frustrated. "I'm your real mother. I gave birth to you. I love you. I don't know you." Lily screamed. Isabella's mask slipped for just a moment, annoyance flashing in her eyes. Then she smiled again. "She'll adjust. Children are flexible. We just need time." Over the next few days, everything I'd built began to crumble. Isabella knew things. She knew the code to Dante's private safe, an old code he'd never changed from 5 years ago. She knew where he kept important documents. She knew personal details about family members, stories from before she left. She fit into the mansion like she'd never been gone. But I knew things too. I knew the current structure of the organization, which had changed completely in 5 years. I knew which families were allies and which were enemies. I knew Dante's habits. His tells when he was lying, his favorite whiskey, the scar on his shoulder from a bullet wound he'd gotten 3 years ago. I knew the men he'd become. Not just the men he'd been. But doubt crept in anyway. Doubt from the other families, whispers in the hallways. If she was really kidnapped, the honorable thing would be to take her back, that poor woman. held captive while a replacement raised her child. Dante needs to do the right thing. Dante was pulling away from me. I could feel it. He spent long hours in his office, avoiding me. When we did talk, he was distant, formal. One night, I found him alone with a glass of whiskey, staring out the window. "She's Lily's real mother," he said without turning around. "I'm Lily's real mother," I said fiercely. "I'm the one who's been here, who raised her, who loves her, who wakes up when she has nightmares and makes her breakfast and helps her with her homework." I know. He finally looked at me, and the torture in his eyes made my heart ache. "But if she was really taken, if she's been suffering all this time, if..." I interrupted. "That's a big word, Dante. You don't know if her story is true, and I don't know if it's false. What if it is true? What if she was kidnapped, held against her will, and now she's back and I turn her away? What kind of man does that make me?" "The kind who trusts his instincts," I said. "Does this feel right to you? Does her story make sense?" He was quiet for a long moment. "I don't know what to believe anymore." "Believe in us," I pleaded. "Believe in what we've built. What we have is real, Dante. It's not a replacement or a substitute. It's real." "The contract ends in 7 days," he said quietly. "I know. If Isabella was really kidnapped, if she's really Lily's mother, then what?" I demanded, my voice rising. "You throw me away? You hand Lily over to a stranger she doesn't even recognize? You pretend the last 5 years meant nothing?" "They meant everything," he said, standing suddenly, crossing to me. He cupped my face in his hands. "You mean everything, but this is complicated. It's only complicated if you let it be." But I could see it in his eyes. The doubt, the guilt, the old sense of obligation to the woman he'd been supposed to marry first, the woman who'd left him, the woman who was Lily's biological mother. I pulled away from him. "You're going to choose her, aren't you?" "I don't know," he said honestly. "I need time to think." "We have 7 days," I said. "Then the contract ends, and I'm free to go. Maybe I should just leave now and save us all the pain." "No," he said sharply. "Don't leave, please." "Then trust me," I begged. "Trust what we have. Fight for us." But he said nothing, and his silence broke my heart. I left him there and went to Lily's room. She was sleeping soundly, her stuffed rabbit tucked under her arm. I sat beside her bed and cried. I wasn't going to lose her. I wasn't going to lose this life. I'd fought too hard, sacrificed too much. So I did what I'd learned to do in 5 years of surviving in this world. I investigated. The next morning, I started making phone calls. I called in favors from the wives I'd befriended over the years. I talked to the servants who'd worked in the mansion 5 years ago and remembered Isabella. She was beautiful but cold, one older maid told me. She complained about everything. She didn't want a baby. She cried when she found out she was pregnant. She said it would ruin her figure. I dug through old records, looking for anything that might help. I found Isabella's old phone bills, her credit card statement, anything that might show her movements before she disappeared. And I found something interesting. 3 days before the wedding, Isabella had withdrawn $50,000 in cash from her personal account. Why would someone being kidnapped need $50,000 in cash? I kept digging. I called Marco, Denty's head of security. "I need you to look into Isabella's story," I said. "Find out if it's true." Marco was quiet. "The boss told me not to investigate. He said to give her the benefit of the doubt." "I'm not the boss," I said. "But I'm asking you anyway. Please, Marco, something isn't right." He sighed. "You've earned my loyalty, Mrs. Salvatore. I'll look into it." Over the next few days, Marco worked quietly. He checked with contacts in other families, asking if anyone had heard about a kidnapping 5 years ago. He looked into properties that might have been used to hold a captive. He found nothing. No one had heard about Isabella being taken. No family claimed responsibility. There was no trace of her anywhere for 5 years. She'd simply vanished. Meanwhile, I watched Isabella carefully. I noticed things. Small things. Her skin was tan and healthy, not pale like someone who'd been kept in a basement for years. Her hair was professionally cut and colored, recent work, not 5 years of neglect. Her nails were manicured. She wore expensive perfume. She disappeared some afternoons, claiming she needed air, needed space to process her trauma. On the 8th day before the contract ended, I followed her. She drove to a small cafe on the edge of the city, in a neighborhood far from the mansion. She went inside and sat at a corner table. A few minutes later, a man joined her. Tall, handsome, expensive watch, confident smile. They kissed. Not a friendly kiss. Not a greeting. They kissed like lovers who'd been apart. My heart was racing. I took pictures with my phone, making sure to get clear shots of both of them. They talked with their heads close together, intimate and comfortable. They held hands across the table. They looked at each other with familiarity, with affection. When they finally left separately, carefully I followed the man. He got into an expensive car and drove to a luxury apartment building. I waited outside, watching, thinking. Then I walked into the building like I belonged there. The doorman barely looked at me. I took the elevator to the floor I'd seen the man go to and knocked on the door. He answered, looking surprised. "Can I help you?" "Who are you?" I demanded. His surprise turned to understanding, then amusement. "You must be the little sister. Isabella told me about you. Answer my question." He leaned against the doorframe, completely relaxed. "My name is Victor Costa, and Isabella is my fiancée." The world tilted sideways. "Fiancée?" I repeated, my voice barely a whisper. "Well, technically she's still married to Dante Salvatore, but that's ending soon, isn't it? In a few days, actually. Then we're free to be together officially. Though we've been together all along, really. We left together the night before her wedding. We've been waiting for the right time to come back and claim what's hers." He said it so casually, like this was all a game. Like my life, Lily's life, Dante's life were just pieces on a board. "She abandoned her daughter," I said, my voice shaking with rage. He shrugged. "Isabella never wanted children. That was an unfortunate accident. But the child can stay with you if you want." "Isabella certainly doesn't want to raise her. She just wants the Salvatore fortune. The properties, the money, the power. And you're in the way." "Why are you telling me this?" I asked. "Because Isabella said you were naive and harmless." I see she was right. "What are you going to do, little sister? Run to Dante with stories? He'll think you're making it up out of jealousy. You have no proof." I held up my phone, showing him the pictures. "I have proof now." His smirk faded. "Those don't prove anything. They prove she's been with you. They prove she wasn't kidnapped. They prove she's lying." I turned and walked away, my heart pounding, my mind racing. I had evidence. I had truth. Now I just had to make Dante believe it. I went straight to his office. He was at his desk, surrounded by papers, looking exhausted. "We need to talk," I said. "Elena, I'm busy now." Something in my voice made him look up. I closed the door and locked it. Then I showed him everything. The pictures of Isabella and Victor. The information about the withdrawn money. The lack of any evidence of a kidnapping. My conversation with Victor. "She's been with this man the whole time," I said. "She wasn't kidnapped. She ran away willingly because she didn't want to marry you, didn't want to be a mother, didn't want this life. And now she's back because she thinks she can take everything, the money, the power, the properties, and disappear again with her lover." Dante stared at the pictures, his jaw tight, a muscle jumping in his cheek. "This man could be lying," he said finally, "trying to break us apart. Why would he lie? He has nothing to gain from telling me the truth. Maybe he wants me to throw Isabella out so he can have her to himself." I wanted to scream. "You're looking for reasons not to believe me." "I'm being careful," he said, his voice hard. "I can't just throw her out based on pictures and accusations." "Then what will it take?" I demanded. "What do you need to see?" He was quiet, staring at the photos. "I need to confront her. I need to hear what she says." "She'll lie," I said. "She's been lying this whole time." "Maybe," he said, "but I need to hear it from her. And if she keeps lying, if she has an explanation for everything, then what? Then I'll have to make a choice," he said, meeting my eyes. "And you might not like that choice." Fear flooded through me. "You'd actually choose her over me? Over us? Over Lily?" "This isn't about choosing," he said. "It's about doing what's right. What's right is keeping our family together." I shouted. "What's right is protecting Lily from being handed over to a woman who doesn't even want her. What's right is believing in what we've built instead of falling for a pretty face and a sob story." Elena, no, I said, backing toward the door. You want to talk to her? Fine, talk to her. But I'm not going to stand here and watch you destroy everything we have. I left before he could respond. I was shaking with anger and fear. I went to find Maria Russo. She was the only person I could trust right now. I showed her everything I'd found. She looked through the photos, her face growing harder with each one. That bitch, she said finally. She's using Dante's guilt against him. What do? I asked. He won't believe me. Men are stupid when it comes to obligation, Maria said. Dante thinks he owes Isabella something because she was supposed to be his wife. He doesn't see that she gave up any claim to him when she left. How do I make him see? Maria thought for a moment. We need to trap her. Make her reveal herself. Make her so confident that she slips up in front of Dante. How? We give her what she thinks she wants, Maria said slowly. We make her believe she's won. And then, when she reveals her true intentions, Dante will see who she really is. Over the next day, Maria and I worked out a plan. It was risky. It depended on Isabella being greedy and overconfident. But it was our only chance. I went to Dante that evening. I'm sorry for yelling at you, I said. You're right. We need to give Isabella a fair chance. If she was really kidnapped, we owe her that. He looked surprised and relieved. Thank you for understanding. I love you, I said, and I trust you to make the right decision. It hurt to lie to him, but I needed him to believe I'd accepted defeat. The next day was the 9th day before the contract ended. We called Isabella to Dante's office. The lawyer was there, with papers spread across the desk. Dante sat behind his desk, his face unreadable. I sat in a chair to the side, playing the part of the resigned replacement wife. Isabella swept in wearing a beautiful blue dress, all confidence and grace. Thank you for meeting with me, Dante said formally. I've given this situation a lot of thought. Of course, Isabella said, sitting down and crossing her legs elegantly. Given the circumstances, your kidnapping, your escape, your return, I believe the right thing to do is to dissolve Elena's contract immediately and restore you as my wife. Isabella's eyes lit up with triumph. Really? Really, Dante said. I watched his face carefully, but he was giving nothing away. I think that's best for everyone, I said quietly, hating every word. Lily deserves her real mother, and you deserve your life back. I saw triumph flash across Isabella's face, sharp and bright. There's just one thing, Dante continued. For security purposes, I'll need you to sign a new prenuptial agreement. Things have changed in 5 years. The family's business has grown. We need updated protections. Of course, Isabella said. She was too eager, too confident. I understand completely. The lawyer slid papers across the desk. These are the new terms. Isabella picked them up and started reading. I watched her face carefully. Her smile faded slightly. These terms are quite harsh. If we divorce, I get nothing? It's to protect the family, Dante said smoothly. Surely you understand. After being kidnapped, after everything you've been through, we need to be extra careful about security. She hesitated. This wasn't part of her plan. She wanted access to the money, not marriage with restrictions. Unless, the lawyer said, right on cue, you'd prefer to waive your claim entirely and we can arrange a settlement instead. Say, $5 million to compensate you for your suffering, and you can rebuild your life elsewhere. I watched her calculate, watched the greed flicker in her eyes. 5 million seems low, she said carefully, for 5 years of trauma. How much do you think your suffering is worth? Dante asked. His voice was cold now, sharp. Put a number on it, 10 million, she said. The same as her contract. That's only fair. And there it was. The slip, the greed. If she'd really been kidnapped, if she'd really spent 5 years in hell, she would have wanted her daughter, her husband, her life. Instead, she was negotiating for money. Fair, Dante repeated slowly. He leaned back in his chair. Yes. Let's talk about what's fair. Let's talk about where you've really been for 5 years. Isabella's face went pale. What do you mean? We know about Victor Costa, I said, standing up and walking toward her. We know you ran away together. We know you've been living quite comfortably while your daughter cried for her mother every night. That's not true, Isabella said, but her voice shook. Dante slid the pictures across the desk. Isabella and Victor at the cafe, kissing, holding hands, looking like lovers. We have more than pictures, Dante said. We have bank records showing Victor Costa sending you money regularly for 5 years. We have witnesses who saw you at luxury resorts, shopping in expensive stores. We have everything. Isabella stared at the pictures, her beautiful face crumbling. You don't understand, she said finally. I didn't want this life. I didn't want an arranged marriage to someone I didn't love. I didn't want to be a mother at 19. I wanted to be free. So you left your daughter, I said. My voice was shaking with rage. You let your family suffer. You let my family take on debt to fulfill your obligations. And then you came back just to steal money. It's my money, Isabella shouted, her mask completely gone now. I was supposed to marry him. I was supposed to have this life. You stole it from me. No, I said firmly. You threw it away. You abandoned it. And I picked up the pieces. I raised your daughter. I stood by this family. I earned this life. You were just a replacement, she spat. A cheap copy. You'll never be me. You're right, I said. I'll never be you. I'll never be someone who abandons a helpless baby. I'll never be someone who runs away from her responsibilities. I'll never be someone who comes back just to steal money. Thank God I'll never be you. Security entered the room, Marco and 2 other guards. You have 2 choices, Dante said, standing. His voice was ice. You leave quietly now, with nothing, and never contact this family again. Or we press charges for fraud, attempted extortion, child abandonment, and emotional manipulation. Your choice. Isabella looked between us, her face twisted with fury and defeat. This isn't over, she hissed at me. Yes, I said calmly. It is. They escorted her out. I watched her go, this woman who'd haunted me for 5 years, and felt only relief and victory. When the door closed, the room was silent. Then Dante crossed to me and pulled me into his arms, holding me so tight I could barely breathe. I'm sorry, he said into my hair. I'm sorry I doubted you. I'm sorry I didn't trust what we had. You were trying to do the right thing, I said, tears streaming down my face. The right thing was believing in you, he said. You're the strongest, smartest, most incredible woman I've ever known. You turned a business arrangement into a real family, and I almost lost you because I was too stupid and guilty to see what was right in front of me. You didn't lose me, I said. I'm still here. He pulled back to look at me, cupping my face in his hands. The contract ends tomorrow. I know. I don't want it to end, he said. I want you to stay. Not because of a contract or money or obligation. I want you to stay because I love you. Because I can't imagine my life without you. Because you're not a replacement, you're the real thing. I love you too, I said through my tears. I've loved you for so long, he kissed me then, deep and desperate and full of promise. When we finally broke apart, we were both smiling. We should go tell Lily, I said. She's been so scared. We found her in her room with her nanny, playing with her dolls but looking sad. Lily, Dante said, kneeling down to her level. That woman who came, she's gone now. She won't bother us anymore. Lily's face lit up. Really? Really? I said, kneeling beside Dante. It's just us now. Our family. Promise? Lily asked, looking between us. Promise, we said together. Lily threw her arms around both of us, and we held her tight, the 3 of us wrapped together. The next day, when our contract officially ended, we had a small ceremony in Dante's office. We burned the contract. This is the end of an obligation, Dante said, holding my hand as we watched it burn, and the beginning of a choice. 6 months later, we had a real wedding. Small and intimate, with only close family and friends. Lily was our flower girl, wearing a white dress and scattering rose petals with serious concentration. My father walked me down the aisle crying. I'm so proud of you, he whispered. You took an impossible situation and made it beautiful. Maria Russo cried through the whole ceremony. Marco gave a speech about how I'd earned my place through strength and courage. And when Dante and I said our vows, real vows, chosen vows, it felt like the beginning of forever. We honeymooned in Italy, just the 3 of us. Lily chased pigeons in Venice and ate gelato in Rome and laughed constantly. When we returned home, life settled into something wonderful. I continued working with the families, using my influence to help resolve conflicts and build alliances. Dante and I made decisions together, true partners in every sense. And a year after our real wedding, I gave birth to a son. We named him Alessandro, and he had Dante's dark hair and my green eyes. Lily was an amazing big sister, protective and loving. Sometimes late at night, when I was holding Alessandro and watching Lily sleep and feeling Dante's arm around my shoulders, I thought about Isabella. I hoped she'd found whatever she was looking for. I hoped she was happy, wherever she was. But mostly, I felt grateful. Grateful that she'd left, because it gave me this life. Grateful that she'd come back, because it forced me to fight for what I'd built. Grateful that she'd shown her true colors, so there was no doubt about where I belonged. I'd started as a replacement, a substitute, a temporary solution to a problem. But I'd become so much more. I was Elena Salvatore, not by contract, but by choice. Not by obligation, but by love. I was a mother, a wife, a leader, a fighter. I was home, and I'd earned every single moment of it.